We are the only people who are hanging on to borders that we didn't draw. Our energy is being wasted on solving the wrong problem. I don't think an African person can be called a foreigner.
South Africa's youth are right to be furious. Decades of broken promises have left mass unemployment, poverty, and also suffocating inequality. That rage is legitimate, ladies and gentlemen. What is dangerous is where too much of it is being steered towards fellow Africans, immigrants, and easy scapegoats instead of the structural roots that actually produce this misery. This is the fork in the road for an entire generation of young South Africans. Do we let populist rhetoric divide us and weaken the only project that can actually liberate the African continent, if you think about it? Genuine Pan-African unity. Or do we redirect that fire towards real solutions, dismantling the barriers to economic sovereignty and creating the conditions for shared prosperity across borders? Mukhethwa, or Voice of South Africa, as known on social media, youth activist and sharp political commentator, joins me for a blunt conversation on exactly that.
In the Crossfire with Peter Kriel, questioning power unequivocally and unapologetically.
Mukhethwa, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be back and looking forward to the discussion.
You've been very vocal about vulnerable communities in South Africa. Just give us a broad overview of why that is.
Well, for people who've been following me for a while now, they do know that my ideology and basically what I stand for is to defend marginalized communities. I've been doing that for almost 2 years now, which is how long I've been on social media. It started out by advocating for women due to the horrendous gender-based violence that we see in this country. And at the moment, it seems like the popular topic of the day seems to be immigration. And I've found it quite how do I say this, heartbreaking that vulnerable people are being scapegoated for issues that they did not cause. So I felt like it was the responsible thing to do to use my platform in order to educate the public so that they are not misled by people who have their own agendas.
So you educated the public, and what was the reaction like?
The reaction was not positive. Mostly it's not positive. I feel like at the moment, the frustration has built up to such a point where people are looking for simple answers. They want simple answers that are easy to understand, quick to execute, and they don't really care about the nuance or the history. So I feel like the groups which have capitalized on the situation have done a very good job at simplifying the issue to the point where now certain people are being blamed for things that they did not cause, just because they happen to be involved, even though they are not the main actor.
Inequality was a big problem before the rapid rise of illegal or legal immigration from other African countries to South Africa. It was prevalent in apartheid, after apartheid. So that disproves that marginalized groups from other countries, migrants, immigrants, whatever we call them, cannot be to blame for that. But where exactly did you decide this is something you can't not speak about? Because there's a lot of things we see on social media, we have opinions about, but we might not put them out there. Why was this one you couldn't resist to put out there?
Well, I did see around sometime last year that this topic was gaining a lot of visibility. It first started out with people being rejected from hospitals.
This morning, when I arrived here, I noticed that group of people who usually call themselves March and March, and they are against to any foreign national that must have.
And then it later evolved into children being removed from hospitals. So before before I decided to have an opinion on this, I first wanted to do my research as to exactly what's going on. I do know that there is a stigma around South Africans being xenophobic, and I wanted to learn more about where does this come from, what happened in the past. So as I was reading a lot of our history, I started to see that there's a very consistent pattern of scapegoating immigrants sometime during election year. And this is not something that just started recently. This is a problem that is as old as our democracy. I mean, the first xenophobic attacks occurred in 1994. I mean, people think that groups like Operation Dudula are the first people of their kind. No, there was another movement called Operation Buyelekhaya. It was the first xenophobic movement to try and push out foreigners from the townships. So it does seem like this could be something that is linked to apartheid, because if you know that our South Africans were segregated and they were made to live in their Bantustans with their own tribes. So that created a sort of mindset where other groups of people seem like, I don't know, other or aliens, sort of. So I feel like now, since we are a democracy, and everyone is obviously South African, and tribalism is frowned upon. I feel like the tribalism that was a big problem during apartheid and prior to apartheid has evolved into more of like Afrophobia and xenophobia. Hence, I say all three things are connected.
There's a lot of Germans, whether legal or illegal, in the Western Cape. I think you saw the video of that German lady being embraced by, I can't remember his name. What was it? What's his name?
Ngizwe.
Yeah, Ngizwe. What did you think about that video?
That video was quite. It was just quite disappointing to see, because it did confirm a lot of what people who are against these movements have been saying, that they are mainly going after Africans. I do get their rebuttal. Their rebuttal is that no, we are not in proximity to white people, so that's not their responsibility to deal with illegal immigrants in Cape Town. However, their attitude, you can see through their attitude that this is not something that they truly mean. And it was there for people to see. The video's going viral. He's telling a German woman who's been here for 20 years that she's one of us.
He wants to hug her.
He wants to hug her, and she's on her own things. And now we have immigrants who have been here much longer than her even, who have been struggling to get documents.
Who have South African children.
Who have South African children even. So it was quite a disappointment to see.
Yeah. How do you feel about the argument that a person from Africa, an African person, cannot be foreigner in Africa, wherever he goes? Do you agree with that sentiment?
I definitely agree with that sentiment. I don't think an African person can be called a foreigner, especially in the context of how the illegal immigration issue was caused in South Africa. I mean, the people who support these movements sort of believe as if we are being overwhelmed by people who are trying to come to this country. And I keep trying to remind them that, hey, the majority of Zimbabweans are in Zimbabwe. The majority of Namibians are in Namibia. Most 1.4 billion Africans are in their countries. It's a minority of people who are immigrating for their own reasons. So it seems to me that there's a bigger issue here with our systems, because you can't say that these illegal immigrants broke our laws intentionally when we already have close to 6 million South Africans who don't have documents. That shows that this is a system issue, not an individual issue of people trying to take advantage of our country.
Do you think politicians use anti-immigrant rhetoric because it works in distracting people from failed service delivery, housing, water and sanitation, especially close to election cycles?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And the historical pattern shows it. It proves it. Every single year before the elections, there's always a rise in xenophobic tensions.
Do you think this is the biggest one to date? The biggest uproar, the biggest...
I would say I wouldn't say. Okay, this is a nuanced question because I would say the most damaging xenophobic attacks occurred in 2008. So, because even people lost their lives. I would say right now, the mobilization around this issue is
I saw those pictures from 2008.
is from 2008.
Yeah.
So this time around, it seems more organized. However, it is getting more media attention. I have never seen anything like this. There are other issues in the country which don't get as much media attention.
Do you think it's being funded?
Possibly, but for now, since we don't have evidence, it's speculating.
It would only be, speculation. But I do think I've spoken to Carl Niehaus. He says he thinks it's being funded by Zionists, by Western imperialism. Do you think perhaps that could be, seeing that South Africa did take Israel to the ICJ, or because of genocide claims in South Africa and the US? Do you think that could be a possible correlation?
I see why someone would believe. I do see why someone would believe that. However, as someone who would like to stay responsible with trying to give out factual information, until there's proof that there is. For now, we can only speculate. But until there's proof, I think there is. I would completely understand why people believe.
How do you feel about Pan-Africanism's future in Africa? Are you positive or are you negative?
I feel like right now, in the moment, it's not very popular to be a Pan-Africanist, especially in South Africa. A lot of countries, not just South Africa. I mean, you will hear a lot of the people who support these anti-immigrant groups saying that, oh no, how come other countries are allowed to ban immigrants, but we are not allowed? So I feel like there is a broader issue of African countries trying to isolate themselves or be protectionist about their economies. I mean, I don't even understand why it's so difficult to travel across the African continent. I mean, it shouldn't be. I mean, other continents have freedom of movement, freedom of trade, and they are prosperous. We are the only people who are hanging on to borders that we didn't draw.
To see that the imperialists and the colonialists are determined to retain the African countries in the position of suppliers of cheap raw materials.
These are not our borders, but we are defending them like our life depends on it.
Yeah, so Africa still adheres to borders drawn outside of the continent. Now, how do you explain to a very populist, anti or xenophobic, Afrophobic population that, you know what, if we combine this continent, you create the strongest workforce on earth, you could have the biggest economy on earth. How do you explain that to people running down other people in the streets, trying to chase them out of the country?
It would be very difficult to ask, because the thing about the conditions that some of these people are in are not quite good. When you are born in an impoverished situation, you can only think of the short term. Hence, certain political groups stay in power because they give out grants and stuff, because that makes sure that they have food today. So they are not really thinking about the future. So I feel like if we want to get the message across to the people on the ground, we would need to first make sure that their immediate needs are met first. Only then will they be receptive to hearing what we have to say, because these are very long-term plans, and doing that without solving their immediate issues, we'll just be talking to a brick wall.
And you're not denying that all the issues raised by South Africans are valid. Unemployment, housing, schooling crisis, all of these things are valid, but it's being misdirected to the migrant or the immigrant. It's just being misdirected. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Not only would I agree, I would feel like our energy is being wasted on solving the wrong problem. Because if all this mobilization was used to fight the root cause, I feel like we would make far more progress. But now, because we are going after things which are not really going to make an impact, eventually, if these people who are currently marching do not get their demands met, eventually they might just end up giving up, like they did like they lost faith in our electoral system. I mean, our voter participation is going down. That shows people who have lost faith in the system. So I feel like there's a huge risk that if these groups fail in achieving what they are trying to achieve, the people who did support them might just give up, because they would have felt like they tried everything when they didn't actually try everything. They went after the wrong problem.
Do you think this movement, do you think it's mostly older generation people, or do you think it's the youth pushing?
I would say it's the older generation. I mean, even the leader of the March and March movement, I think she's 40 years old this year. And to be considered youth in South Africa, I think it's 18 to 35. So all these leaders of these groups, the people that I've seen on camera, are usually much older people. I have yet to see.
They've had a lot of experience.
Yes,
right?
they have a lot of experience, career experience, and everything. So I haven't really seen anyone from the youth. Most of the people that I've seen from my age bracket have been anti.
So where are they? Are they in clubs? Are they at soccer games? Where's the youth? Why are we not in the streets countering this?
I think.
Are we afraid?
I think yes. Young people are afraid to their lives. I mean, they are seeing a lot of these political assassinations taking place every day. I mean, the most recent ones happened during registration week. So they see that and they think that I don't want that to happen to me. But that is the reason why the average age of our ward councillors and everything is probably in the 50s or 60s. This country is being governed by people who are not going to live long enough to see the consequences of their actions. So, but I do feel like the youth are there. They are receptive, and you can see that through social media and content they engage with. I feel like what's missing is a
push.
There needs to be someone similar to
like you.
Yes, there needs to be someone like me who would be able to mobilize the youth and get them to take action, because we have their attention. Right? What's next? What's required next is a strategy.
So we've talked a lot today about intellectual jargon, hypotheticals and what ifs and stuff. Are we going to put our feet on the ground and say that as the youth and people from different communities, we want to stand together, come together, and perhaps counter this anti-migrant, anti-immigrant, xenophobic, Afrophobic sentiments? Would you be open to something like that?
I definitely would.
So I think we need to start mobilizing the youth. I think we need to start, whether it's just through going to schools, speaking to young people, and eventually having young people speak with us as well. I think that is definitely something we should look into, and I think we should put our teams to that as soon as possible.
I think so as well. I think that would really be beneficial. That's probably the missing key. I mean, the youth are there, are receptive, and with the right message and the right strategy, can.
We have a very overwhelming youth population in South Africa. Do you remember what happened in Kenya a few years ago? I think it was in Kenya. Was it Kenya? The youth overthrew the government.
I think so. I remember that.
Now, I'm not saying we should overthrow the government, but I'm saying in numbers there is very much big power. So let's
Definitely.
utilize that.
And there's probably they're available. They're available to be mobilized. I think only if you look at the statistics, because people look at the youth unemployment statistics, they think 60% of unemployed youth means that 40% are unemployed. That's not quite true. The more accurate thing to look at is the absorption rate. That will tell you how many of the total population actually have jobs. And that's sitting at a very scary number. 10% of youth between 15 and are employed. So they are sitting at home with nothing to do. So if we are able to organize and get them to, they already care about these issues. And if we can just organize them, we would be able to fight for a lot of the needs of the, make their voices heard. Because I feel like our issues as the youth taking a backseat when they shouldn't it could develop into a very big crisis if we continue to ignore.
For a young person listening now, this is my last question, who knows that all of the things going wrong in our country should not be blamed on the immigrant or the migrant. What is your message or challenge to them, or your call to action to them in that camera?
I know and I understand the frustrations that South Africans are. I am a South African myself. I want this country to prosper. However, I feel like we shouldn't allow ourselves to be misled, and we should want the best for this country. And that starts with holding the correct people accountable. We need to deal with the root cause of a lot of the issues affecting us. And for as long as we don't do that, we will continue facing the same problems over and over again. And this cycle of scapegoating will continue like it has in the past. And probably even in 2028, we might even see new groups taking advantage of the frustration of the day. So I would urge young people to know their history, know what's really going on in this country, and try to be more active and participate in civic organizations and trying to support South Africa, our goals basically. But that's all that I'd say.
The frustration is real and it's justified. But misdirecting it at the nearest black foreigner is political suicide. It solves nothing, and it fractures the very solidarity Pan-Africanism demands of us. Mukhethwa cuts through the noise with clarity that the youth majority must reject scapegoating and get serious about solutions, tackling the ownership of land and capital, building skills for industries that actually employ people, and fostering continental linkages that move us beyond raw material exporters, and creating institutions that actually serve the many instead of the connected few. So think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, stay focused and stay increasingly radical. My name is Peter Kriel. Thanks for watching.
In the crossfire with Peter Kriel.